Evander Kane has been a notable Vancouver Canucks player this year, mostly for all the wrong reasons. He's old, his contract expires later this season, and he's a guy that carries a lot of baggage on and off the ice. Say what you want about how he was able to reform himself with the Edmonton Oilers the past few years, there were many Canucks fans that were not fans of acquiring Evander Kane last summer for Vancouver. Now, unfortunately, I was one of the ones that actually liked the deal. I was like, okay, this guy's going to provide goal scoring, he is going to provide offensive push, he's going to be a versatile, aggressive, physical winger in the top six, and that was something that I saw value in. Except Evander Kane, unfortunately, has not been able to do too much of that. He's only got 6 goals in 42 games played this season, and 20 points. Now, he is on pace for a point production year that is actually kind of similar to what he had done. It's only 5 points fewer than his 2 seasons ago record, but then again, I don't think any Vancouver Canucks fan is fully satisfied with the play of Evander Kane this season. So how funny is it to learn that apparently the Vancouver Canucks tried to trade him back to the Oilers? Jason Bruff tweeted this out earlier in the morning. I can't stop laughing about the scoop from Rick Dhaliwal. The Canucks tried to give Kane back to Edmonton. And this and more was summarized from Halford and Bruff's earlier segment by Canucks News Summaries. Big shout out over to Canucks News Summaries for always going out there and giving us the scoop in a readable text format. But Rick Dhaliwal was on Halbro earlier this morning to talk shop, and there were a number of Vancouver Canucks news and updates that I think we should dive into here. Let's just go over everything briefly and then expand more on some of the Evander Kane things. Starting out with Kiefer Sherwood, take a look at what Dhaliwal said on the program here. Fans and media are going to have to be patient when it comes to a Kiefer Sherwood trade. The Canucks have a price and are going to stick to it. They would have traded Sherwood by now if a team had offered a first-round pick. The Canucks offered a 4 to 5 year contract, around $4 million a year last week, and a $3 million 3-year contract in the summer, both of which we can reasonably assume Sherwood and his party said no. Dhaliwal says that the recent Christian Dvorak contract is a comparable contract for what Kiefer Sherwood could potentially get. Now talk about a pay raise. The guy's making $1.5 million a year right now. Talk about Christian Dvorak. He just got the bag over there in Philly. Held out for a short-term deal in the offseason, and now, because it's January, he's able to get an extension. Dvorak is signed on till the end of 2031 at $5.15 million. So if that's the contract comparable for Kiefer Sherwood, maybe 5 isn't too ridiculous of a prediction. The Canucks are one of the few teams with their UFAs on the market right now, but if other teams start putting their UFAs on the market, it will hurt Sherwood's value. Dhaliwal mentions the Maple Leafs' Bobby McMann as an example. And that, I think, is one of these other things that we should be wary of as Canucks fans. Vancouver has a price. They want to get a first. They probably are on track to getting a first if you assume that teams will become desperate by the time the trade deadline rolls around. I mean, Kiefer Sherwood is on pace for 32 goals this season after all. As we'd been noting, it's been declining ever since the beginning of the year. But if there all of a sudden are other wingers that are available on the trade market, that will diminish Sherwood's value. It will make things a little bit easier to bypass for other teams if they think the Sherwood asking price is too high. Supply and demand, people. High demand right now. Lots of teams going after this guy, but if there is more supply, it'll become a lot more difficult. This is where Dhaliwal talks about Evander Kane. One team said that the Canucks will have trouble trading this guy, and Dhaliwal has been told as well the Canucks tried to trade him back to the Oilers, but couldn't confirm it. The Oilers are apparently not interested. Now, it's funny because earlier in the offseason, we did see some reports saying that the Oilers regretted the Evander Kane trade, or at least some people within the Oilers organization regretted the Kane trade. Not because they think that he's super amazing now, but because they liked his body of work in the past. The goal scoring, the agitation, the community work, there was a lot to like out of Kane during these 3 and however many years in Edmonton. But in Vancouver, unfortunately, despite the fact that Kane seems like a pretty chill dude in the locker room with these young guys, he has not really been a play driver in the same way. The play dies on his stick. He misses the net a lot. He misses his chances. This is a guy that was supposed to be able to come in and score 20-plus goals, and he's on pace for 12. So, yeah, Vancouver's not getting too much out of Evander Kane, and the fact that he's making $5.125 million is noteworthy. Is this the kind of guy that is going to actually be desired on a trade market? I don't know. He's not playing like it. He's not playing like a guy that demands teams to trade for him. He's 34 years old. This is the last year of his deal. He's on a contract season, so a lot of folks said that he would go out there and actually play well. A reasonable assumption when you look at the other contract years he has had in the past. But this has not been his season. The Canucks are bad and Kane is bad. And that's why Jason Bruff's going out there and saying, yeah, no, I can't stop laughing about the idea that Vancouver tried to give Kane back over to Edmonton. There's a conversation about Jesperi Kotkaniemi. The Hurricanes have been trying to trade him to the Canucks since 2022. He also would have been part of the Pettersson for Marty Necas trade, which I do think is a pretty big sting there. Marty Necas is very, very good. Dhaliwal has been told to check in on the Canucks' interest in Kotkaniemi, which I absolutely hate. I do not like the idea of Kotkaniemi coming over to Vancouver. He has been a disappointment. Centers are a hot commodity around the NHL because of how difficult they are to acquire, Dhaliwal said. Speaking about centers, there is a conversation on Teddy Blueger here at the bottom. That he is on the trip means that he is close to returning. He has been through hell and back. He had another earlier setback at practice. In a perfect world, you would get him healthy and trade him at the deadline. A team will want Teddy Blueger for playoff depth. And the injury that he got is somewhere in the legs, but Dhaliwal cannot get confirmation. Now, might I remind you, Teddy Blueger is a Stanley Cup champion. Like, he literally was a part of that Vegas team a few years ago. So there is some legitimate pedigree there that I think fans should not ignore. This is an Olympian. This is a guy who has gone out there to the top of the mountain. And he's a pretty good bottom six scorer. I don't know what else to tell you. So, Teddy Blueger, nice to see him coming back. He is a pending UFA, $1.8 million a year. So, this is a player that probably could fetch a decent return. And then the final screenshot of Canucks News Summary's Dhaliwal summary goes over Braeden Cootes and how sources have told Dhaliwal that Cootes asked for a trade, but he doesn't think that's what happened. He also believes there was a conversation between Coots' side and the Thunderbirds where both sides acknowledge that he won't be in Seattle next year. There's no animosity between the two sides, just business. Half the teams in the WHL called to see if they could acquire Coots, including the Giants and the Oil Kings. WHL teams don't know whether their players are going to turn pro or go to the NCAA. And also, if this agreement goes through, next season the AHL will allow one 19-year-old per organization, and Coots could very much be in Abbotsford next year. Junior teams are targeting loyalty and commitment, and one scout told Dhaliwal that Coots is a couple of years away from the NHL because he still needs to physically mature. Now, tell that to the Braeden Cootes that was a point-per-game guy almost during the preseason. He was so good. But with the news that AHL teams will allow one 19-year-old per organization, that could be a pretty great opportunity for Coots to head over to the Abbotsford Canucks next season. That would have been the perfect medium this year if it was just allowed. The guy was very good in the preseason, didn't really showcase all too much in the first 3 games of his NHL career, but he was the first 18-year-old since Peter Nedved in the 90s to make the Vancouver Canucks opening night roster. So Coots, for what it's worth, did show off some good value there. We'll see how much value he's able to show off in Prince Albert and in Abbotsford potentially next year as well. But for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these Canucks updates, the Kiefer Sherwood contract talk, the Evander Kane trade backsies to Edmonton, Teddy Blueger coming back, and the Braeden Cootes situation. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.